I am excited to be a part of this generation. I've always been hearing people saying history will remember this, and I'm happy to be the part of history that is going to be remembered, to have taken a step to incite the change that we want to see.
Maikutlo a me ke maikutlo a go godimo thata ka gore re itumetse re kgonne go tsenya tautono mo swa re le Batswana mme re soletse tse dintsi mo go ene ya ka a re di promisitse mme re tsa di promise wa gore di naya mo magalape le ha se ka bophara dithabolo di a go ana mala le ha tshela Botswana go le gongwe re le Batswana re itumela re kgona go bona maamuso ya rona e ntse re thoka gore ete go go rona
ke ikutlwa ke le mototo go ba ngwana rona Gideon Duma Boko e le tautona le ha tshela Botswana e le ngwana magalape ke ikutlwa ke le mafolofolo ke ikutlwa ke itumetse ke bona re tle go nna le phetogo mo pusong e ncha.
I wish UDC will implement a diverse economy. Gona economy ya rena le ha tsentse ikaegile ka ditswamong hela, but if we foster into other sectors of the economy re ska ikanyega ka ditaemane hela, we will go somewhere, our economy will really grow.
So se se diragetseng tota gona na re setse re itumeletse tautono montšha la ntha hela go tshimolo go nna ntse re tshogile gore go re gato go iragaleng but re amogetse seemo gore nya ke face e ntšha
go tswa kgakala re le hatsela kagiso re bata kagiso e nne e tswelele mo lehatsheng re itsewe hela ka tšhaba e leng gore re sala re tswa bogologolong.
Massive humanitarian crisis. In a situation like ours, we were anxious, unsure of how this outcome would be dealt with, unsure whether there would be an acceptance and whether there would be a peaceful and orderly transition from the one administration to the next. This moment is a testament to the maturity of our democracy. Our democracy has truly, demonstrably matured. That power has moved from one regime to the next regime peacefully, in an orderly manner, marks great, stunning success. It's an occurrence of staggering enormity. And we have the immediate former president to thank, and I thank him profusely. During the counting, before the outcome became evident, the former president, who was still president then, reached out to me in the morning and said to me, "You and your party seem to be doing very well. Congratulations. I and my party remain hopeful." And I sent a message back to him and said, "Thank you very much. I said, God bless you. God bless our people. And God bless our country." And I concluded by saying to him, "Happily, we Botswana are one family." And he responded on a light-hearted note and said to me, "And you, my in-law?" And I retorted and said, "Your in-law indeed." That is the exchange. And this must tell you that this was sincere, it was warm, and it was a gracious acceptance of what may eventuate. And towards the end of the day, the president called me and he said to me, the counting is still underway. It is becoming increasingly clear which direction it's going. I want to assure you now, the magic number has not been reached yet, but you have my assurance. I will concede. As soon as that number is reached, I will readily concede. I want you to know this so that you are not in any doubt. That was most humbling. In fact, it scared me. It brought home the seriousness of what was unfolding. And true to his word, the very next morning, he was going to address a press briefing. And he called me on his way and told me he was en route to the press briefing and that he was going to make the concession. And he said, be ready. I will call you as soon as I'm there so that I can publicly make this concession. I want us to pause here and reflect a bit. What kind of man who has been leading a party that has never experienced a loss of power readily accepts, willingly engages with his theretofore adversary and sincerely congratulates and is willing, ready, and able to hand over? What kind of person is this? It would have to be a person who firmly believes in the ideals of a proper democracy. It would have to be a person at peace with democracy, ever conscious of sometimes the aleatoriness of it all, that it may go this way or it may go that way, and ready to accept. But that sometimes is theoretical. You know you are ready to accept, or you believe you are. But when that moment comes, will you? And the moment came. And that's the most devastating moment if you're not ready for it. Here's a man who seems to have been more than ready. When that moment comes, right at that precise moment, he anticipates it, he sees it approaching, he readies himself. And he accepts, and accepts readily, sincerely, and forcefully. There's nothing more evocative than this experience. There's nothing more humbling. There's nothing that brings home the efficacy of our democracy than this. And for that, I am more than grateful. I am humbled. I bow down in recognition and gratitude to him. It's no longer theoretical. And so I spoke with him again yesterday in preparation for today. And he took me through what would happen. So when I called back, he answered and said, my president. That is most humbling. And it continues to attest to the firm belief of this eminent gentleman, the immediate former president of our republic, to democracy. For him, democracy is not just preached, it is lived, it is enacted. It is not something written on some fading parchment. It lives it leaps out and it prances about and it enforces itself, and he embraces it and he walks with it gracefully. We're humbled by your gesture, by your activity, your sincerity, your commitment to democracy. If there's anybody who ever had any doubt, including myself, all those doubts have been wiped off. I'm, as I said, much in your debt. We will respect you even more, because maybe when we were in office we didn't quite understand who you really were. You've now shown. You've shown your mettle as a Democrat. You've shown your mettle as a stickler to the requirements of a democratic order. Botswana today sends a message to the whole world and says, democracy is alive here. Democracy is in action. This is democracy in motion. This is democracy exemplified, sent as an abiding lesson to the whole world, to say to the African continent, it must happen, it can happen, and when it does, it's one of the most beautiful experiences that a country can go through. If there were any challenges and problems, this is a step in the direction of healing and curing. So it has a curative effect. And so we are grateful, Your Excellency, for the example that you've set, not just for us, for the continent and for the world. I now am a firm believer in our democracy. Any doubts, misgivings, and misapprehensions I may have had have been obliterated completely. What comes forth is appreciation of the strength of this republic, of the commitment of its leaders to its stability, of the resilience of its people, and their firm belief that the only way to change government is through a democratic order. We assure you that that will remain. So thank you very much. Today, His Excellency formally handed over the office of President, the facilities, the documentation, the authority, and briefed on the state of affairs. He also formally handed over the entirety of the civil service, spoke to them in my presence, and I also had occasion to address them briefly, to assure them that this democracy is alive, it's well, it's functioning. And this democracy protects every single one of you, that you are not subjected to any abuse, any violation of your rights, that we uphold these rights. I said to them that we're going to run an agile government, a government that is quick on its feet to respond to issues, very responsive, and one anchored on the precepts of compassion, of fellow feeling, of understanding that people who come to these government offices seeking help also need respect. They also need to feel valued. They also need to feel that everything is being done to find a solution to whatever problem they would have brought forward. And so, ladies and gentlemen of the press, this is what happened today. It is a historic occurrence. It is unparalleled, unprecedented in the history of this country. It is often said, good leaders have a history, but outstanding leaders, leaders of genius, don't just have an outstanding history, they make history. I don't want to talk about myself, but he has made history. In what he did today, he has made history. And he has earned his stripes as a truly outstanding leader, patriot of the Republic of Botswana, and a Democrat, stamp and root. Thank you so much. Thank you so very much. I'm happy to have lived through this moment. I hope we take it forward with pride and humility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I now humbly invite former President of the Republic of Botswana, Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, to address the members of the press. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency the President, the new President, 6th President of the Republic of Botswana, Duma Gideon Boko, incoming Vice President, Your Honor, Ndaba, honorable members of Parliament, I saw a few here, head of the public service and accounting officers, members of the press, a very good morning. I can only confirm what my president just told you in terms of the details of what transpired during the election, and confirm that indeed the party that I lead is now learning a new thing, to be in opposition. He used to be in opposition, he's now the government of the day, and his party. The BDP has a new title. We are opposition. I'm an opposition leader. Clearly it wasn't planned on our side. We went into election full of hope and anticipation and confidence. But like I've always said, we are not called the BDP or Democratic Party for its own sake. We are Democrats through and through. I am a firm believer in democracy. And the proposition is very simple. You go and have a contest of your ideas, and the public will determine, the voting public will determine which is the most attractive. So don't be surprised when each of us declared to go and win the election. Agerle Rebutele was going to win the election. Rera Tile was going to win the election. Rasa Leshando was going to win the election. It's the nature of the game. But ultimately the people spoke in the numbers through a process that's been tested, that is impartial, that is transparent and evidenceable. We subjected ourselves to it, completely trusting it. It yielded us a result different from what we're used to. There is no time to start haggling and pondering or proffering conspiracy theories. We lost the election. We lost the election. We lost it to the UDC. And so it was my responsibility to make sure that I rally our troops in the BDP, and while I still and while I still was president, to make sure that we implore all others, not necessarily in our party, and those non-affiliated, to calm down, accept the outcome of the election and look forward to the swearing in of a new president. It's an onerous responsibility. And you know, democracy for us is not about just the abstract concepts. We peel through it with intention. And peeling through it means walking every step of the way. And so when President Boko and I were out there contesting, and we said things that we will not say today about each other's parties, it did not take away from us our commitment to this country. It did not diminish in any way our commitment to the Constitution. Certainly not on my part. So I knew I had a responsibility to make sure that we set a standard, because we've never had a change of government, as in a different party taking over in this country. So the honorousness of the responsibility on me was massive, and I had to lead. And so, Your Excellency, I can confirm to you I meant every word of what I said. And in developing this new way of handing over administratively, I wanted to be very public and to assure you that with or without you, I spoke to the senior public servants and everybody in charge. The Constitution is clear. For the armed forces, there's only one commander-in-chief. We have a brand new one, President Boko. He heads this country, he heads this government. When you say president, he's the only president. I want to give a former president to a small p, president Daji, you can A. This is our national president. I urged those who listened to respect our president. The presidency demands respect. To support our president. It's a national patriotic duty. And so, Your Excellency, I look forward to the next 5 years of your presidency. The standards has been set. We will go through another election. We will see what the outcome is like. And then, if as you wouldn't wish it happened like it happened in my case, you know the standard. And even for those who will come after us, they know the standard. It does not work to cause strife, because power is only borrowed. It's not yours. It's a system. We must embrace it. So I very happily handed over and had instructed all to pay allegiance to the government of the day. We have an apolitical public service. And I did remind in the presence of the president that they are apolitical, but they take instruction, follow, deliver the programs of the government of the day. We, on the other hand, have now taken a back seat with the others to go and look for opportunity to showcase that our ideas would have worked better. Would have, not are. We are out of that space. So I want to thank you, the media, because you may underestimate your role. The media is a very important attribute of democracy. Extremely important. And when we free you and uninhibit you, you report things as they are, as you're doing today. I urge you too to be contributors to the strengthening and the solidifying of our democracy. So I look forward to my days when I'm an ordinary citizen and do things that you all have been doing and deny me from doing. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. I wish you the very best of luck, and you can call on me at any time as you wish and ask whatever. I am there to support the presidency. And remember, There are very few who have been presidents. There are certain things that are only unique to the presidency. I've shared some of those with His Excellency, and as we go forward, we will share some more. I thank you enormously.
I now open the floor to members of the press to ask questions. Indicate by a show of hand, state the media house from which you come from, and please state your name. Thank you. Mr. President, if you are ready, sir, may I thank you, sir.
Dumelang, Kibidwa Talifan Charles, Deputy Reuters. My question, I think I have a question for the former and the president. For the former, I want to know the state of our coffers. Are you heading over a very that is question to him. And then to the president, I want to know your plan with you just met the senior civil service. So what's your plan with regards to, are we going to see bringing in the whole new stuff, or what's going to be happening about that?
Thank you. May we please have another, and please state your name and the media house to which you represent.
Thank you very much. My name is Befo Piake. I report for Botswana Gazette. I have one for, let me say, both of you. My question is with regards to the concept of automatic transfer of power. There are those who are of the view that it is undemocratic and it does not represent the will of the people. The second one relates to the concept of acceptance, particularly with regards to you, former President Masisi. I want to understand, for somebody who may want to understand what went through your mind, what was going through your mind as you were losing elections, and after the loss itself. Did you have any intentions of, refusing to relinquish power, and so forth and so on? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ma'am, please step forward. We're waiting for her. There's a show of hand in the front here.
Good day. My name is Rorisanta Misinyana. I am reporting for University of Botswana Radio. Yes, we do have a radio, 99.5. My question is, what do you intend to do in terms of accountability that is different? I think for so long, even just in the educational sector, because that is as far as I went, what do you intend to put forward, or what is it that you have in place for doing things differently in terms of accountability? Do you have auditing models, things like that?
Thank you. I believe there's a hand at the bar. Okay.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Khorata Mola and I'm a freelance reporter. I have two questions to His Excellency, the former president. Are we going to be seeing you in the next coming elections running as one of our presidential candidates, or are you done in the political ground? And then the other question is to our president, His Excellency President Duma Boko. How are you going to be maintaining a good relationship with the press in your government? Good relationship with the press in the government, only in the presence of the president, but even in your absence with your staff, knowing that you are freely to do our job. For example, we had a scenario here this morning where we had to even beg, can we please do this, can we please be here? We are here for the president, we are here to listen to the former president. But that is just not right on our side, or in how we're going to be relating with the government or with the government staff. we are afraid of having a situation where we are acting like we're sharp, we are okay in the presence of the president. But when the president is not here, we are scared. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President, may I take another question, sir? With your permission, sir. Thank you.
Dumelang bagolo, ebile Karabo Ramadu. Nna dipotso tsa me ke di lebaganya le President Boko. Raitso, o moemela ditshwanelo tsa batho. Le nako a santse o le private citizen o no o tsaya di-case tse dingwe tsa tsone tsa go emela batho gore ba golesege mo bong ja bone. Nngwe ya tsone e leng gore gampieno e gaukile go kgabaganya setšhaba e leng gore kgotlatshekelo e rodile gantsintsi gore batho bao ba lese gore ba tshele jang mme ga go se go goroge setšhaba go na le se sengwe re gane se se dumelang. Yaanong ke kopa go itse gore a wena jaaka o le mo setilong ebile o na le dithata o tla ntsha molao kana referendum ya gore batho ba go nna jalo ba kgone go tshela sentle. Ya bobedi potso e ntse ta ko go wena mongane ke ya banana. Ga o lebelela dingwaga tse sothetse mo history ya rona di-party tsotlhe di manifesto tsa teng di a supa gore ba letella political activation ya bomme, participation ya bomme le banana. Mme banana le gona gampieno ane ke dumela le mo parlamenteng e tseneng ya gampieno ba kwetase ga botlhano kana ba bararo go le goro. A re tla dira gore re tsenye political education mo setšhabeng gore ba thagalagana monana le ene o ka hirwa e le politiki a goroga a tswa ko university a na le ditshwanelo tse di lekanetseng. Ke a leboga.
Thank you very much. May I kindly request that we pause right here and humbly invite President Boko to make his remarks. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
The question relating to the public service, are we going to see any movement? I shall not presume to say, but what is important is when you've only just stepped in, you do not want to be overly presumptuous about what there is. You afford yourself time to appreciate the lay of the land, as it were, understand who's where, in what role. The only thing I said was that we're going to have an agile government, one that is quick on its feet in terms of its responses and its interventions, and one that is compassionate. And I implored all those that I met this morning to strive to offer this. And so I will look at what we have. I will engage with the public service, and them and I and others in the leadership will take reasonable, appropriate, and respectful, ethical steps to ensure that we continue to function. There was a question about automatic transfer of power. It just confounds me a bit, because I'm not sure what automatic transfer we're talking about. What we have here is power shifting pursuant to a popular decision of the electorate. Once that decision is communicated, it is credible, as we now have, power vests by reason of the outcome of the election. And that is exactly what democracy is about. That people have decided, and their will must be respected, upheld, and enforced And that's what we're doing. Relationship with the press, it seems to me to stand to reason. It doesn't admit of any doubt that we need the press. We need a vibrant and ethical, a probing, sometimes unpleasantly, press. And that's what we call for. And that press must also be enabled by an environment that conduces to them doing their work effectively. And so one of the issues that we will debate is a freedom of information legislation to aid the press by availing information so that they can then operate from the vantage point of accurate information and not peddle fake news. That's what we want. Because a press is part of constitutionally entrenched principles of freedom of thought, freedom of conscience, freedom of speech. And as you know, in constitutional dispensations, especially in the United States, the most important right is the right to free speech. That's something that we need to understand. In terms of practicalities, logistics, are there amenities for the press? Are there chairs for them? Is there a separate holding area? Are they given refreshments? Those are matters operational that we need to address. And those will be addressed together with you so that we set the minimum standards. What is it that we want to see? How do we want? So that we also partners in shaping the landscape. And that I'm a firm believer in. Issues of sexuality, which are emotive, very controversial. I was involved in these matters as a constitutional lawyer, as a human rights lawyer, arguing about the Constitution as it stands and saying what rights does it recognize and give. I wasn't inventing and inviting non-existent rights and concepts. I operated within the four corners of the Constitution of Botswana to urge a position that says this is what the Constitution allows, and if we are prohibiting this, we are violating the Constitution by restricting the locus of rights that the Constitution grants. That was the argument. And the culmination of that argument was fairly recently somewhat narrower, and it was this. And in this sense, it was fundamentally not so much about orientation as it was about speech and association. And it involved the right of an organization called Lekhabibo to exist as a society under the legislation of this country and to advocate for a certain position that may be unpopular. That was the pith and substance of the argument in that case. It was, they say you are advocating for something that other people don't want and they don't like. The question is, should we limit freedom of expression and association on the basis that we do not like what this person wants to say? We don't want them to meet with this one because we do not like what they will say when they have met. That was the fundamental question there. And the court came out. It didn't talk about much. It said, doesn't matter how unpopular the views are, or unpleasant, unliked, they have a right to express. Imagine if you wanted to criticize the government, something that may seem very unpleasant to other people. If you are stopped, and the justification flowing from the principle of preventing Lekabibo is, we don't like what they want to say, then we have effectively created a dictatorial society. So a democracy is much about majority as it is about the protection of any discrete and insular minority, so that we do not, in the guise of democracy, find ourselves operating a majoritarian tyranny, a tyranny of the majority. So this is what we are trying to avoid. And I think the rest of the questions call for the president. The youth participation. We will encourage, we will do everything in our power. Many people engage politically from very young ages because of influences that are around them. I would like to think now that our country has more than enough role models in the political space to inspire young people to participate. But of course, the subtext of what you are asking me is whether there will be any affirmative action for favoring the youth. I think there has to be somehow. We have to respond and make the youth visible in some of these critical spaces, so that others may not just know, but see in reality and be inspired. We will try as much as we can to do that. Thank you very much. Over to you, Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. Start with Charles, Cleveland Charles. State coffers. I want to be very clear. The fundamentals of our economy are in place. The fundamentals are in place. What does that mean? Look at our credit rating, look at our rate of inflation, and yes, the GIA has gone down. And there's a reason for it. The diamond sales have been below expectation and not unique to Botswana. I can confidently confirm that because I spoke often with those who used to be my colleagues who are diamond producers. And these are cyclical. We do know it has happened before. And when it does happen, as is happening now, at a time convenient and necessary, you kick in austerity measures. The first time we kicked austerity measures in was in August, and then the beginning of this month, where you reduce spending, you slow down spending, so that you make sure that you are not depleting completely your reserves, so that you do not threaten the stability of the economy. And in so doing, we are assured that those programs in place to make sure that people first, livestock second, are assisted to survive, are affordable. And that's what I can tell you. Yes, we were almost at a zero rate the last time during COVID, because we spent money in fighting COVID. when the economy was literally shut, unlike now. But thankfully, we built back extremely well. We were among the best to build back from COVID. And with those accumulations, we then started to implement the robust programs, particularly in the infrastructure space that we have right now. And they are going on. There's commitment to, contract signed, and work is going on. Clearly, among the things that new government will have to consider in the preservation of the economy would be to make a determination about those that were planned but not started. So they either stop them completely, cancel them completely, or slow them down. That's not for me to determine. So there shouldn't be any panic about the fundamentals of our economy. Rep for Piachai of the Gazette. I think my interpretation of your question must be to do with automatic succession, as in when a sitting president gets to the end of his maximum term. The answer I have is because it's embedded in our Constitution, and the constitutional provision in there was arrived at through a process acceptable and in fulfillment of our democratic dictates. I think it is. But it does not prevent a reversal in the event that you think otherwise. That's the nice thing about democracy. You have choices. But I'm convinced this is what was wanted by the people. And those charged with the responsibility of effecting what the people want, as in amending whatever was to be amended, did it. And it's in place and works. If the question was, do I personally believe it, I would have answered it, but you didn't ask that. Another time. You also asked about the concept of acceptance. And in the way you coined it, what went through my mind as we were losing elections. Exactly what His Excellency President Duma Boko described, as was expressed in my communication with him, is a demonstration of what was going through my mind. Is that what you heard him? That was what was going through my mind. I was losing the election. I was upright, very alert to it, but fully accepting that this is democracy. I was not in charge. I only had one vote. My vote is fact. My job was to accept it, embrace it, as I would have expected everybody else to, even if the outcome had been different, as we have been doing for the last 58 years. Can I have to answer my job? Why would you not accept that and we'll accept it. But to pile go dumela se party ya ga Re Boko e ne se bua ba le palo potana e go tlase ga ya bone e ba re thopa. Yeah, no, the interesting thing about the debate, le ha isa gudiwa, yeah, first past the post system, that has resulted in us, though getting the second highest number of popular votes, merely the lowest number of seats. Go on first past the post. It's very definitive. Yeah, proportional. Instability then sets in, and it's very costly. So I'm quite content that my party that I love dearly has only 4 seats. And yes, we'll provide a very vibrant, informed opposition. We will, rest assured, we will. But we will do it, nonetheless. I mean, no, ya ga rusane ile ga totona go rata molawa. Am I going to run in 2029? No. 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 But am I going to be politically active? I can't tell. But do I want to be president again? No. I am not willing, wanting to run for the presidency. And I need to be clear and understood as to the reasons. Because much as it's out of personal consideration, they are also out of a very deep acceptance and realization of what we are as the BDP. We are a very dynamic party. We have lots of leaders, plenty. In our constitution, any president can only do a maximum of 2 terms, or equivalent of 10 years at the helm. I did 6.5 years. So think of this. If I were to run again for presidency of this country, in effect, I would only be running to be president for a maximum of 3.5 years. Why should I burden the public with a hiccup of a presidency? Really? Why would I? Why would I burden my party with the difficulty of explaining that here's a president who wants to come back only for 3.5 years? Why would I burden my party with the accusations that would certainly come that you do not have the depth of human resources? And yet we do. Why would I go through the hustle and bustle of electioneering within the party? Why would I want not to live at this high moment of the highest expression of submission to democratic ideals, and then muddy it with competitive intra-party politics followed by inter-party politics? At 62 years old, as I am, I'm beginning to feel like an elder. I've never understood, because this job saps from you. Now, naturally, now I have a lot of energy. I still do. I mean, I had enough energy, Your Excellency, to do the next 3.5 years. You just cut it short. But I've never understood why anybody would want to do more than that. I certainly am not one of those. So I will not present myself as a candidate for the presidency in 2029 or whenever a general election is held. This is it. Botswana banjele monate banjele botlhoko le nna ke banjele monate le botlhoko. I've been very privileged, extremely privileged. You know, kana gona hela ke nna le ke ntse tautona le tautona bo. Two, this is rare. So why would I want to grab this when so many others could do it? So, my dear Rory, I am not running in 2029. That was all, Your Excellency, that was asked of me. Thank you.
There was another question there about accountability. And when I was dealing with the issue of access to information, in part I was addressing accountability. Accountability is about having full information about what is happening, so that you hold those who are doing it accountable. You know. And if you have access to information and you have a system that is open and transparent, that enables you to check and verify, satisfy yourself, then you have yourself an accountable system. And if anything should slip through, then you should have robust oversight institutions that will address any failures and shortcomings. And so we believe that we will enhance what there is, and we will do the very best in that regard. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Mr. President.
I can see you are desirous of continuing. It's hot. You are complaining about, I think you're also feeling the heat. We will have a full session where you will ask questions, and we will respond, engage. You will have plenty of that going forward. In fact, in some instances, you may not even ask, because the information will be readily available to you, and to do with it as you please. So would I kindly request that we close the Q&A here, so that we give His Excellency a chance to go and rest, and the public officers to organize themselves for another grueling encounter with myself this afternoon, where they're beginning to do briefings to clue me in and bring me up to speed and bring everybody else up to speed, while waiting for the new regime to take shape. We are agreed, are we not? Thank you very much. Don't say the men bulldozed. I request that. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much. That's what you must say.
Thank you, sir. At this point, may we kindly rise as our President, President Duma Gideon Boko, President of the Republic of Botswana, and former President of the Republic of Botswana, His Excellency Dr. Mokgweetsi Masisi, take leave.
Botswana is not only about wildlife, but rather human life as well, and that it was through indigenous knowledge and practices to manage wildlife that the country has managed to conserve a large population of elephants. A hunting quota is a managed hunt meant to protect natural resources, that is, wildlife and their habitats, providing a high-quality hunting experience and maintaining a high level of safety.
I am the chairperson of community-based organization.